Am I the asshole for not letting a pregnant woman have any of my birthday cake? My birthday was yesterday, and my husband invited his best friend Matt and his best friend's pregnant girlfriend, Jane, out for a barbecue. They live 2 houses down from us. It was only us, our 3 children, and them here, with their 3 kids as well. I spent about $90 on hamburgers and hot dogs. Matt also showed up with 2 pounds of hamburgers. While the guys cooked, I went swimming with all the kids in our pond. Jane sat near the guys, just on her phone. Around 5:30-ish, the guys called the kids up for food. Me and my middle child, 9, weren't hungry yet, so we kept on swimming. We spent a good 40-plus extra minutes in the pond with our tubes. I wasn't paying any attention to anything that was going on near the grill. Around 6:15-ish is when my husband said that he was going to make a store run for beer. I told my son that we should probably go and eat now. My husband and Matt are gone by the time that we get up to the grill, and so is Jane. Well, we got up to the grill and all the food was gone. Literally everything. I called my husband and asked him where all the food was. He said that it should have been on the grill. I told him everything was gone. Okay, Jane, I know you didn't eat all the food. I know you didn't eat all... Jane, I know you didn't eat all the food. There was a long pause before he goes, Jane asked if she could take some for leftovers, but I didn't think she would take it all. She didn't even eat it. She took it? He then tells me that there was at least 8 burgers and 10 hot dogs left, as well as macaroni salad when he left for the store 10 minutes prior. I told him to call Matt and see where the fuck all the food was. He does. He then calls me back and says that Matt claims Jane only took a few and that they had already been eaten. But my oldest son, 13, straight up tells me he saw Jane walk off our property carrying the entire dish, one of those extra large tinfoil barbecue pans. Jane, y'all brought 2 pounds of hamburger and left with all the hot dogs and burgers that were left over. Get the fuck out of here. Nah, you not the asshole, because bitch, you should be full. You ain't got no room for birthday cake. You have no room left for birthday cake because you got 37 hot dogs and 54 hamburgers with you. Nope, you can't have no cake. You can't have no cake. Anyways, I'm pissed at this point. Me and my son hadn't eaten anything. My husband is also pissed, but he just grabbed me and my son something from the store instead of making a huge fuss. I don't really blame him. Him and Matt work together, so it is what it is. But anyways, much to my surprise, Jane and her kids came back over 45 minutes later and asked if they could have some of my cake. I told Jane that her kids can, but she can't. She asked why, and I said, I'm pretty sure you've eaten plenty considering you took off with my entire barbecue dinner before me and my son could even eat anything. Period. Girl, you're not hungry. You not hungry. You took the rest of the food and then came back with the nerve to ask for more. No, you can't have no fucking cake, girl. Baby, go get y'all some cake. But bitch, you don't get none with your hungry ass. She tried arguing that my husband told her that she could have it, that half of it was hers because they brought 2 pounds of hamburger meat, and that she didn't realize me and my kid hadn't eaten anything. She was beside the grill the entire time. This was her fucking goal from the beginning. That's why she was guarding the food so goddamn hard. I just shrugged my shoulders and walked away. She tells her kids, let's go, and they leave without cake. Now I'm feeling like I may be the asshole. No one has said anything, but I know there's tension. No, you're not the asshole, because that's some bold shit. That is some bold shit. You said half of it was hers. Okay, well, bitch, why you didn't just take the half that you brought? If you felt like you were entitled to the half of the leftovers, why did you take the hot dogs? Because the last time I checked, 2 pounds of ground beef don't fucking make hot dogs. Like, the last time I checked, I mean, I'm not a genius or anything, but the last time I checked, 2 pounds of ground beef don't fucking make hot dogs. And then you had the nerve and audacity to come back and ask for more. Can we have some cake? Bitch, no. Yo bold ass walked out of my property with all the leftover food. 2 of us hadn't even gotten a chance to eat. And then you lied about it. You lied because we asked you and you said, well, I only took a few. What the fuck? 18 goddamn burgers and hot dogs is a hell of a lot more than just a few. No, you can't have no fucking cake. The fucking audacity, girl, no. I would have cut the cake and ate it right in front of her. Right in front of her. Would have act like I was going to cut her a piece of cake and stuck my fork in it and ate it in her face. Just get off my fucking property. Go eat my hot dogs and my hamburgers.
Am I wrong for refusing to be my sister's babysitter and putting her job at risk after she called me a deadbeat mom. I'm 24 and I have an older sister who's 33. I had my sons really young at 15 and 18 with my ex. My sister was already out of the house when I had my youngest, so she didn't really need to do anything as far as childcare. Not that I expected her to, I'm just kind of giving context. I'm really lucky to say that my ex is an extremely involved father. And we have equal co-parenting schedule that we worked out outside of court. He gets 1 month and I get 1 month with the kids. We live in the same city, so this doesn't affect their schooling or anything like that. And this has worked for us since we broke up when we were 18. And now I understand that a month is a really long time, but that doesn't mean I don't see my kids during that month. We still do sleepovers, go to the movies, we do nightly FaceTimes, we'll go to dinner, see a movie, and sometimes we even do sleepovers. I do love that it gives me time to relax and be child-free. It gives me a chance to hang out with my boyfriend or go out with my friends spontaneously. I still get to live as a young adult, and so does my ex, which is kind of why this works so well for us. This is always a controversy when I mention it to other moms, because they always say the same thing. I could never. And they make me feel like a mom because I have fun during my time. So I don't really mention it often to other moms. Anyways, my sister just welcomed her first baby last year. Now, we weren't the closest because of our age gap, but her having the baby really did bring us closer together. Her husband and her separated a few months after having the baby, and she's been doing it all alone ever since. With how the job market has been, it took her months to even land an interview, but she got the job. Sadly, childcare in our area is about $2,000 a month, and she can't afford it. So either the paternal grandmother or I will watch him during the week while she's working. My mom would do it, but she returned to work last year to pay bills, so she can't. Luckily for me, my mom could watch the kids when I was underage and when I moved out. But now I work from home and they go to school, so I don't really have to worry about that. I don't mind watching my nephew. My sister starts at 6 and gets off at 2. And I usually only do it 2 or 3 times a week, so it's not constant. So on Thursday, when my sister dropped off my nephew, she had to go downstairs because she forgot his diaper bag. But she left her phone and purse behind. When she left, her phone rang, and I answered it because it was our mom. While I was talking to my mom, a notification popped up that somebody she was talking to liked a message she sent. It said, "Crazy how she can watch my son for me, but when it comes to her kids, she doesn't care. I could never go to Jamaica to celebrate a man's birthday when I could be with my kids instead. Deadbeat moms are worse than deadbeat dads." The message shocked me so much that I screenshotted it. My boyfriend's birthday is next month and we're going to Jamaica to celebrate. This is my kids' time with their dad, so it worked out perfectly. When my sister came back upstairs, I acted normal and said goodbye. But the more I thought about it, the more pissed off I got. Why should I be ashamed that I don't have to do this alone? How am I comparable to a deadbeat like her husband who hasn't seen their kid in months and has no contact? Here I am doing her a favor by saving her $2,000 a month. So when she came to get my nephew, I confronted her. At first, she tried denying it until I showed her the screenshot. Then she tried telling me it was all out of context. But when I asked her to show me the message, she didn't want to. She told me she's sorry, but she honestly doesn't seem sorry at all. She just wanted to leave. When I asked her to tell me how I'm a deadbeat, she broke down into tears and told me that she's a single mom. She receives no help and I'm barely a mom. So I don't understand how she feels. I told her to leave, so she did. But once she was gone, I called her and told her I was no longer going to watch my nephew. I didn't want to tell her in person because I knew she was going to try and guilt trip me. She sent me over 50 text messages when I wouldn't answer, that she's so sorry and that this wasn't supposed to happen, and that she regrets it. She told me she needs me to watch him since his other grandma can't do it every day, and that if she gets fired, she'll be out of a job again for months and won't be able to pay her bills. Well, I didn't reply, and now my mom and family are telling me that I need to accept her apology and keep watching my nephew. I feel used and disrespected, but I also feel bad because I know she needs childcare. So am I wrong? Bye.
Am I wrong for being annoyed at my fiance choosing my ring? Background, I am a goldsmith and have been for over 10 years. I work part-time for an independent jeweler as a bench jeweler and also have my own business where I do commissions and repairs. My fiance openly admits he knows nothing about jewelry but supports my work. My fiance, 38 male, and I, 36 female, have been together for 5 years. We have discussed marriage at length, and during these conversations, I have said when it comes to engagement rings, because of my job, I know exactly what I want. We also talked about how I want to make it because then I know it is exactly what I want and is also handcrafted and not a cast mount. This is how most rings are made these days, which is fine for most people. It would also be substantially cheaper for me to make it compared to buying one from a jeweler. So I could also have more ring for less money. As this was my literal job, he agreed and said it wasn't traditional but sounded romantic at the same time. On New Year's Eve, he proposed. I, of course, was delighted and said yes. Then he pulled out a ring. I could tell by the box it wasn't a cheap placeholder ring to wear whilst I made the real thing. It's also exactly what I didn't want. A solitaire round diamond on a cast white gold band. That's your style, great. I've made enough of them over the years, but it's everything I didn't want. I didn't say anything on the night, obviously, but the next day I sat him down and asked him why he bought it when he agreed on me making it. He said it was traditional for the man to get the ring and that I should be happy he got me one. He also spent 4 times what it would have cost me to make it. Short version is, I told him while I appreciate him wanting to be romantic and get me a ring, this isn't what I wanted. The cost is disproportionate and we should look at returning it and having me make another ring. He called me ungrateful and I should just be glad he got me a ring and that I would learn to like it. I'm the one wearing it. I need to like it. This is something I tell every person I do a ring commission for, and he knows this. He agreed to return it. Thankfully he can, and let me source the materials and stones to make up the ring, but he's really not happy. So am I the asshole here? Here's the thing. Women have to wear these forever. I get it, you want to be a provider, you want to surprise her, all that. But her input is the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter if you think it's ugly. If she wants it a certain way, get it for her. She offered you a cheaper alternative. Why wouldn't you take that? You're both talking and no one's listening. This marriage is a recipe for disaster. If he doesn't care about this in the beginning of a ring, wait till you get married.
Am I the asshole for spilling mustard all over myself at a restaurant? Earlier today, my wife and I were eating out at a barbecue restaurant in our town. We don't eat at restaurants much since it's rather expensive, so this was sort of a special occasion for us. I decided to order the chicken strips and fries with honey mustard sauce, and our food came out rather quickly. My wife had just started on the burger she ordered, and I was attempting to open the mustard container. It was one of those packages where you peel the lid back on the cup and then dip the chicken into it, but the lid got stuck and wouldn't come off of the cup. I thought maybe that if I squeezed the cup hard enough, I could force the mustard out of the cup and onto my plate. The idea was sound, but it backfired spectacularly. Instead of the mustard shooting out of the cup and onto my plate, it shot up and all over me. I had honey mustard from the armpit to the waist, all the way down the left side of my shirt. I felt extremely shocked and embarrassed by this, so I started dipping my chicken tenders on my shirt. I didn't want to draw attention to myself because I thought I would be ridiculed. Instead of being ridiculed by the waitstaff, however, I was instead ridiculed by my wife. She told me that I was embarrassing her and acting ridiculous, but I reminded her that the honey mustard was still perfectly good and that trying to wipe it all up with napkins would only waste it. When I was done with my meal, I went into the bathroom to blot the rest with paper towels, but I still smelled like a corn dog all the way home. Worse still, my wife refused to speak to me. I assured her that I would simply throw the shirt into the garbage rather than try and clean it, but it didn't seem to help. My wife was determined to be mad at me. After getting home, I threw my shirt away and tried scrubbing the mustard smell off of me. I think I did a pretty good job, but my wife is still upset. I don't know what more I could have done. These sorts of things happen to everyone at some point. I tried an alternative way of extracting the mustard and it just didn't work out. I wish she could see my perspective sometimes. So, am I the asshole? Is it that big of a deal?
No.
No, but I have a feeling he probably does stuff like this often, and she was like, that's it. Like,
Done.
You're pissing me off.
You know what you're signing up for, though. You know what kind of person you sign up for. I'm all about this. I think the time I became the biggest fan was when he started doing it, dipping it on the shirt. Like that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I've done it. I'm gonna be honest, I've done it.
I think everyone has at least like a little bit, at least like wipe it off your shirt
And then
eat
lick it with your finger.
Am I the asshole for not wanting my husband in the room while I give birth? Me and my husband have been together for 5 years and married for 3. We have a 13-month-old child together, and I'm currently 6 months pregnant with our second child. For the most part, our relationship is usually really great. He's typically loving, kind, and caring, but when I gave birth the first time, I saw a completely different side of him. He was just straight up mean and unsupportive. Before we even went to the hospital, he kept telling me that he thought I was overreacting about the contractions. I wasn't loud or screaming or anything, but they did bring tears to my eyes. Once we were at the hospital, he sat in the corner away from me, still making comments like that until the doctor told me it was time to push. At that point, he came over and he held my hand and he was stroking my head and being really kind. And from that moment on, he was just back to being his normal, amazing self. So obviously later I brought it up, and when we were talking about it, he said that he was just stressed and he didn't mean to make me feel that way. But now the problem is that I'm obviously pregnant again, and I really just don't want him in the delivery room this time. I feel like I really just want him to let me do what I have to do and then come in after I'm all done. I just don't think I can handle that pain alongside feeling so neglected again. But he just keeps saying that I'm trying to punish him for last time and how he acted. So am I the asshole for not wanting him in the room while I give birth?
Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that she's not allowed to tell my daughter what to do? I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years, but she only moved in with me 6 months ago. I'm a widower, so I wanted to make sure that this was serious before I was okay with moving her in with me and my daughter. Generally, the two of them get along pretty well, and I told my girlfriend at the very beginning of our relationship I wasn't looking for a stepmom for my daughter. She's 16 and honestly old enough that she doesn't need a new mom. Well, last weekend, I went camping with one of my mates for 2 days, and my girlfriend stayed home with my daughter. I knew my daughter was going to a party on Saturday, and I already agreed to it. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend she's not allowed to tell my daughter what to do? Last weekend, I went camping with one of my mates for 2 days, and my girlfriend stayed home with my daughter. I knew my daughter was going to a party on Saturday, and I already agreed to it. But when I came back from my camping trip, my daughter complained that my girlfriend told her she had to wash off her makeup and do one that's less provocative before she could leave the house. I got angry at my girlfriend and said she wasn't allowed to order my daughter around, and she wasn't allowed to prevent her from doing anything I already agreed to. We had a huge fight, and since then we barely talked. Am I wrong?
I'm full of regrets believing that my husband cheated on me when he didn't. Cheating is something that I've always had strong opinions about. I've been cheated on before and it sucked. Everyone knows that I don't forgive cheaters. So when my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, staged an elaborate scheme about my husband cheating, I ended the relationship. My relationship, unfortunately, wasn't the only one that was affected. My sister-in-law, Lisa, 32, her best friend, Emma, 32, and my husband, Jamie, 29, were best friends growing up. Emma got married when she was just 20. Her husband was abusive. She had 2 children with him. She got divorced 10 years later, and she was finally free from his abuse. She suffered a lot, however, and was, probably still is, in therapy, her and her children. I, 30, met Jamie 4 years ago. We got married 2 years later. Everything was just awesome. What I didn't know was that Emma wanted Jamie, and Lisa made it her mission when Emma finally got divorced to bring her brother and best friend together. I didn't know any of this, so I never knew there was a hidden agenda. When I, a few months into my marriage, overheard Lisa talking about how Jamie was cheating on me with a married colleague of his. In hindsight, I can tell it was staged because she was saying unnecessary details and was very loud. She meant for me to hear it. I confronted her then and there, and she played very flustered and apologized and begged me not to ruin my marriage. She told me Jamie loved me and she never wanted to lose me as a sister. But at the same time, she provided me with pictures and texts. They were all photoshopped of my husband and his colleague. She begged me not to mention where I found out, and I was grateful for her support and promised her not to expose her as the source. I confronted my husband with everything, and he adamantly refused to admit anything. It hurt me more that he never admitted nor apologized, ever. He asked me where I got this from, but I kept my promise and told him it was an anonymous tip. I also went so far that I contacted the colleague's husband. At the time, I thought it was the right thing to do. The colleague is this very beautiful woman that my husband worked very closely with many hours a day. I was a bit jealous of that, and I confided my fears with Lisa. She used it against me. I asked for a divorce, and the colleague's husband did too. After that, Lisa, who I thought was my friend, who called me her sister, disappeared from my life, like I never existed. Even when I bumped into her, she was short with me and indifferent. Months went by, and I was still heartbroken, processing the separation. My husband stopped trying to make me see reason and agreed to divorce. He said he wanted to move on. I started having doubts. Why is Lisa doing this now? She was my friend and wanted the best for me, yet now shouldn't even answer my texts. I follow both her and Emma on Instagram, and I started seeing how Emma and my husband gradually started hanging out. At least once a week, Emma or Lisa shared stories about my husband with Emma and her children. What I did next is very questionable, and yet I don't regret it at all. I was desperate, and I needed the truth. I was still very good friends with Lisa's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Mike's sister. I told her my doubts and everything. I told her that Lisa was my source, that my husband was cheating, and that I'm starting to doubt everything, and that I needed their help to unearth the truth. Mike was easier to persuade to help me than I expected. He had Lisa's passcode, and he went through her messages with Emma, and there was everything. They have plotted everything. They used my idiocy and insecurity and made me throw the best thing that ever happened to me away. He sent me all the proof I needed, even the original photos they used to Photoshop my husband with his colleague. My world was turned upside down again, and I went into a deeper depression. I stayed in bed, called in sick for 2 weeks. I have not ruined only my life, but also another family. I don't know why I'm writing here, if I want advice or just to vent. I don't blame anyone but my stupidity for ruining my marriage. I should have trusted my husband and the love he's shown me. I should have been honest with him about everything and where I got the news that he was cheating from. I should have not gone to hurt the colleague and her family just because I thought her beautiful. She has since quit her job and moved, but I still had her husband's contact info. I had to at least apologize. We met and I told him everything. He was so angry with me. He was crying and yelling at me, and all I could think was that I deserved every insult he threw my way. I found the colleague on Instagram and DM'd her everything and a long apology. She didn't answer me. I don't know if I should tell my husband too. I know I don't deserve him at all, and I know that he doesn't want me anymore, but maybe he should just know what Emma is doing and what she's capable of doing. He deserves to know the truth. Maybe I could start with reassuring him that I'm not trying to win him back. I'm just trying to help him understand and apologize. I need to apologize for everything. I don't know.
To go to these lengths,
It's
really
psychotic.
to Photoshop, this person's bored, literally has nothing to do. How do you have this much time to focus on someone?
Story of the time I dated somebody with a fetish. And no, I'm not talking about a foot fetish. I'm not talking about a furry fetish. I'm not talking about financial domination. No, I'm talking about a cheating fetish. So I was dating this guy and I was absolutely madly in love with him. And for this reason and this reason only, I allowed him to completely control my life without even realizing it at the time. So I would stay at his house for days on end. Like, he would not let me leave. And I'm not saying like he physically like, you know, held me there, like tied me down, like nothing like that. It's just the fact that every time I would mention that, hey, you know, like I've been here for a couple of days, I kind of want to go home, I miss my family, he would just act different. He'd be like, all right, like whatever, like you don't, like I don't understand, like you can't just shower here, like oh now you're gonna go back home and you have other guys like waiting for you over there. And then it got a little out of control. I mean, it was always out of control, but it just kept getting more and more out of control. When I would leave the house to maybe, I don't know, get some food, or like if I wanted to maybe, I mean, I rarely saw my friends, but if maybe I wanted to see a friend or like whatever the case might be, he would have to be on the phone with me, like would instantly call me the second I left to make sure that like I wasn't talking to anybody else, to make sure I wasn't like going to meet up with anybody else, to make sure, you know, like that I was just only able to talk to him, like if that makes sense. Like one time in particular, I went to this store to get food and I was on FaceTime with him because I thought he wanted to talk to me. Like I thought that he just like missed me or something. Like I thought it was cute initially until I'm about to get out of the car and he's like, wait, why are you going in right now? Like who just walked in? And I was like, what? I just have been sitting in my car for a while. Like I just want to go in. I'm hungry. And he's like, nah, like somebody definitely like just walked in. Show me like around you. And I was just like, dude, like nobody, like what? Who does that? Like first of all, like what? And there were many, many, many more examples of him being crazy and controlling, but I'm just gonna leave it with those two so that hopefully it just puts it in a little perspective for you that like he really just wanted to make sure that he had me under control, like complete control. Now I started realizing that he was cheating on me when he had hickeys and scratches and he just smelled like perfume and he was always turning off his location, being sketchy. You know, there was a lot of different things that proved that he was cheating, you know, but it got really out of hand when he started hanging out with the girl and calling me while he was with her. So he started having this obsession with Taco Bell all of a sudden, and one day he FaceTimes me and he was acting so smug. He was like, baby, I love you so much, and like just so you know, I would never cheat on you. Not that you asked me, but like, you know, just so you know. And I'm like, okay, who are you with? And he's like, I'm not with anybody, baby. Like I would never have anybody else in my car other than you. And then he puts his hand over the camera and he starts going, oh my, this sandwich is so good. Oh my god, hold on, give me a second. Oh my God, amazing. And obviously he wasn't eating a sandwich, but more likely another girl's face. But then what really just pushed it over the edge is that he had bought 2 sandwiches and he goes to me, yeah, Mia, I actually bought 1 sandwich and I have it right here, right in front of my face. And I have another sandwich waiting for me in the back. And that sandwich in the back is just gonna hit so different. I already know it's gonna be so good. He was literally looking in the rearview mirror. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's how I know it's a fetish, because he was purely enjoying just knowing, or at least thinking, that he knew something that I didn't. Like, obviously I knew. I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. I have the full story time on my YouTube channel, so go check it out if you want to hear the whole entire thing. Bye.
My pregnant wife's sister offered to sleep with me. My wife, 24 female, and I, 24 male, have been together for 3 years, married for about 6 months now. We found out that we're going to be parents, and we're both very excited. We told our families over the weekend, and everyone was happy for us. This morning, I got a text from my wife's sister, 21 female, saying that she knows that women can get emotionally and physically abusive and can put a stop to intimacy during pregnancy, and that she's willing to help me out anytime, sexually or emotionally, during and after the pregnancy. If you don't tell your wife, if you don't tell your fucking wife that her sister was throwing her coochie to you through the fucking phone. Obviously, I have no interest in anyone other than my wife, but how do I tell her what her sister offered? My wife has always been there for her sister, and they've always been super close. Really? Because I don't give a damn how close I claim to be with my sister. One thing I'll never do is offer my cooter cat to her husband just because she's pregnant. Ain't that much closeness in the fucking world. Her sister was the maid of honor at our wedding. I don't want my wife to lose that bond, and it would destroy her if she found out that her sister was willing to betray her like that. At the same time, her sister is a snake and is willing to ruin our marriage and the life of her soon-to-be niece or nephew for what I'm guessing is a childish crush on me. You better tell your wife. Like, I don't understand how this is. I'm not worried about my wife's bond with her sister, because if that bond was so fucking strong, the sister would have never stepped out of her fucking place to do something so disrespectful. I'm not worried about the bond because the sister ain't fucking worried about the bond. Your wife 100% deserves to know that her sister is a snake and threw her cat to her husband through the phone. Tell your wife. My first priority is my wife and unborn child, and anyone else can go to hell. How do I approach this situation? There's literally no good outcome. I can tell my wife tonight. She's going to be absolutely devastated. I will always be there for her, and I know her parents will be on her side. But losing a 20-year bond with her own sibling while in such a vulnerable state sounds terrible. How can I possibly tell my wife that the sister she loved and looked after for so many years wants to sleep with her husband while she's pregnant? If I don't tell her soon and tell her later, she may lose her trust in me. If I don't tell her at all, my wife will be close with someone who clearly doesn't care for her and could easily betray her again in the future. Babe, you answered your own question. The very last paragraph is you answering your own question. If you do not tell your wife she's going to be close with someone who would really betray her in this way, why would you allow your wife to be in a position to be hurt by someone who is capable of even suggesting some shit like this? You need to tell your wife. Be upfront and honest with her, because you said her sister is a snake. If she is so bold as to send this through a text message where it's there in print, where we can see it, and she can't take it back and deny it, there's no telling what she's willing to do or how she's willing to spin the narrative. No, we're not going to give her the opportunity to do that. Tell your wife. Tell your wife exactly what the fuck happened and let her decide what she wants to do with her 20-year bond with her younger sibling.
I just found out my partner is involved in a romance scam. So here's the tea. He's been chatting with somebody in a Google chat, and he's given this person money in the form of gift cards. Anyways, this person keeps asking him for money, and he doesn't seem to understand that it's a scam. I'm obviously pissed, but I can't deny that I'm also kind of amused. I'm also wondering, how am I with someone that's obviously this blind? I guess what I'm trying to ask is this something worth divorcing over? We have a small child together, and honestly, that complicates things. He's also in therapy, so I don't know if this could somehow be a part of his therapy. I also know I'm kind of grasping at straws with that excuse, but I'm honestly just not sure at how to proceed from here. The way I see it, I have 3 options. Okay, so my first option is to keep my mouth shut. start saving money, and once I have a place of my own and enough money saved up, I leave him. Option 2 is to confront him about this. And my third option is confront him, tell him I don't give two shits, and we're now in an open marriage. You know, reverse psychology his ass. But like, which one of the three options do I pick? Okay, so here are some things you guys need to factor in. Our finances are separated. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so obviously I need time to get a job and figure out childcare. My credit is also shot because I've been putting groceries and other stuff on my credit cards. And obviously, we've been spending above our means. I'm pretty sure I'm going with the first option, but I just thought I'd ask. Bye.
I caused my boyfriend's affair partner to miscarry. It's been over a year and I still don't feel guilty. To put it in a nutshell, I was with my then boyfriend for 4.5 years. He was seeing his affair partner for the last 2. We accidentally got pregnant and I had given birth. I still can't wrap my head around why she showed up to my house with photos and messages and pictures of her and my ex-boyfriend sleeping together. I did thank her for informing me of what had been going on and asked her to leave, which she refused and started a triad of demands and accusations, to which I pointed at the nanny cameras in my house and explicitly said if she didn't leave, I'd call the police, which I did, but before they turned up, she pushed me and I defended myself. I thought the beating was enough of a punishment and a warning to leave me and my son alone. But what a f***ing mistake that was. I was messaged insistently on Facebook, and through Facebook, I learned from my beating she had miscarried, and I couldn't help but laugh as she had told me to get rid of my son. I guess God chose which son to keep and which to get rid of. I hadn't heard from my boyfriend from that day forward. He didn't show up to court, but did send myself a message after saying he made a big mistake and couldn't face either of us, but not an apology. From the day I was awarded full custody, I packed mine and my son's things and moved to Asia to live with my father. We've been living a good life, but my son's father won't stop trying to contact me and move back to my previous area. He has no idea where I am, but he's currently with her sister as his now ex-affair partner has been disowned from her family and kicked out. I don't feel guilty. I feel like she got what she deserved. What goes around comes around. Why would you even initiate a fight if you're pregnant? That's dumb on you. What pregnant woman gets a physical education?
Am I the asshole for completely canceling my stepdaughter's birthday bash and leaving her with nothing after I broke up with her dad? I, 43 female, broke up with my ex, Charlie, 42 male, last spring, after finding out that he cheated with his ex, Sandy, 34 female. We were together for 3 years, in which I was a very committed stepmother to his kid, Sarah, 17 female. She and I never acted like mother-daughter, but I was the go-to adult when she had problems or if she needed anything because she and her mom didn't get along. My ex would try to help, but his solutions weren't very effective. A year and a half ago, I completed a very ambitious project for a large company. I started getting paid, but bonuses and royalties only came in this year after launching. I was so happy and so grateful that I opened accounts for my kids. I decided to give Sarah a birthday party that she wanted. Her birthday falls in July, and she wanted a pajama party for 25 people with the big bash, a fancy cake, balloons, a DJ, and to go along with her friends to stay in a hotel out of town. This would be for her 18th birthday. I set up a savings account for the party under my main bank account. Charlie ended up asking me to help him fund a business idea, but I declined that for various of reasons. We're not married, and I prefer to go solo. His business idea sucked because he was inventing the wheel, and I would have been funding everything. We ended up having to close the conversation because he got angry and said he needed a helpful partner by his side. I responded that I was taught not to give men my money. I know I was harsh, and I apologized for it. I began to feel very insecure when Charlie started to criticize my makeup and personal style. He also praised women to my face, and I felt horrible. Early in the relationship, we had issues because of his communication with Sarah, his ex. It resulted in him promising that he was going to cut her off. Fast forward, I began to notice that Sarah was very active in his family's social media. She gave likes and commented a lot, so I asked him if they were still in contact because it just didn't make sense. He initially denied it. I went on a 10-day business trip and our communication was very off. He would only take my calls until early in the night and became very vague about his daily activities. I couldn't reach him at all for 2 nights on several days apart. He sounded weird when we did finally speak. I lied about having to delay my return date for a few days and arrived a day earlier instead. I came home to find used condoms in the trash. Oh, hell no. My world was shattered and I got sick. His face changed when he saw me home. He also claimed to have been with his mother until later that night. I told him that I was sick when he asked me what was going on. I didn't mention that I knew anything. He rushed to take out the trash and to do the laundry. I got into his phone. I know it's wrong, but I found hundreds of messages from his ex. Pictures, voicemails, and conversations like they had never even broken up. Girl. Oh, hell no. Hell no. I'm waiting to see what it was that the daughter did for you to decide to cut ties. Like, I completely understand being upset and deciding I want nothing to do with you. We're breaking up. That's it. That's all. But you're taking back her birthday party after agreeing to do it for her and setting up an entire account for her. So I'm waiting to see exactly why you're feeling like it's okay to pull everything back from her. My ex talked to Sarah a lot. He consulted her about things, told her about his day. Then I found a family chat that made me sick. He, Sarah, and Sandy spent 2 days at a camping site last year when I was visiting family. There were pictures from last Christmas with his ex at his mother's house. So everybody in his entire family assumed they were still in a relationship and nobody said anything to you. Girl, I understand why you're now willing to take away her birthday bash that you're funding because she's 17. You said that Sarah is 17. She knew what the fuck was going on and she knew that it was wrong. And instead of saying something, was 100% okay with allowing you to continue to fund this birthday party. I would have taken it back too. I don't give a damn how mean that makes me. I would not have funded this party either. Because I'm not planning to go to this motherfucker. Ain't no way in hell everybody in your life is going to eat and drink and enjoy themselves on my fucking dime. Hell no. I would have taken this shit back too. I would have too. Obviously, Charlie had a full-blown relationship behind my back and his entire family was aware of it. I directly confronted him and he tried to deny it until I laid out one of the voicemails. I couldn't take the humiliation, so I moved out weeks later. I closed the bank account for the birthday bash and I kept the money for myself. I cut everyone off, including his kid. He reached out the last week of May and pleaded with me not to take away Sarah's birthday celebration. I never replied. I know she's a teenager and that she has no control over her dad's actions, but she seemed awfully comfortable in her pictures with his ex. I feel extremely betrayed. Also, there's no way in hell I'm funding a party that I'm not going to attend for obvious reasons. Period. I said the same thing. I'm not funding a party that I'm not going to. No, I'm sorry, but that's not how that works. I'm not going to go. There's no way that I'm going to fund a party that I'm not going to for obvious reasons. And I don't want to contribute to a celebration so his shitty family can eat and drink on my dime. Girl, are you me? Because I said the exact same fucking thing. Sarah's mom has always had separate celebrations for her, and her gift was supposed to be a camping trip. My ex's family can't afford the celebration unless they saved way in advance. Wait. I thought the ex was Sarah's mom. It's not even her mom. It's a completely different bitch. Just a whole nother separate ex that this man has been with. That's not Sarah's mom and that's not OP. I thought that, damn, okay. When shit clicks too late. Wow. My best friend says that maybe I can send Sarah a gift if I find it in myself to forgive her actions, but I don't feel like it. His sister sent me a voicemail the other day asking me to please don't turn my back on her niece. I feel awful because I know this was Sarah's dream, but I'm too disgusted to back out from my decision. Am I the asshole? Edit. The ex that he cheated with was not Sarah's mom. She's an ex-girlfriend and much younger. Her mom is also in her 40s. Girl, I figured that out already. That clicked about a paragraph and a half. Yeah, girl, I figured that out already. Y'all, I was so ready to plead Sarah's case. I was, because I know it. Initially, I was like, fuck that. I would have took my money back. I'm not paying for shit. But at the end of the day, I was like, as I was thinking, it was like, okay, well, she was in a hard position between her mom and dad. Like, she wants her parents to be together. We can't truly really expect her to choose over having her parents together versus not telling her dad's girlfriend. That is not the case. That is not the case. It is not. Sarah, you suck, girlfriend. You're not getting a birthday party, not on my dime. No, this is not your mom. This is just some other woman that your dad has dated. Ma'am, girlfriend, that is not okay. You're 17. You're 17. You knew that this was not okay. Hell no. Hell, not now we see why Sarah's mom has separate celebrations, because she absolutely wants nothing to do with her baby daddy and his family.
Put a finger down if the guy that cheated on you ended up getting the other girl pregnant. God, I hope this is not something that we can relate on. Well, to provide a little bit of backstory, I met this guy that we'll call Logan at a bar. And while that should have maybe been a red flag, homegirl really thought she met her Prince Charming. He swept me off my feet, we exchanged numbers, and eventually decided to give us a chance. And let me tell you, the first year was a fairy tale. 4 months we talked about having a baby, and eventually I ended up getting a positive pregnancy test back. So I was scared but excited to give this to him. And when I handed it to him, honey, he just went silent. I asked him how he felt, and his response was, like I need to pee. Later on, I begged this man to propose to me because we're having a baby together, and he proposed to me with the cheapest turn your finger green ring. And I know these are fat red flags, but at the time, I just saw them as pink because I was giving birth to our son. Well, the second it was time to give birth to him, my fiance wasn't involved at all, to the point where the nurses were asking if the dad was in the picture. I was straight up alone. But now pay attention. One female friend that went on double dates with us often, named Tori, came up with my husband to check on me. Part 2 to my ex cheating on me and getting the other girl pregnant. So a little backstory on this girl, Tori. I knew her because we had gone on double dates with her and her husband before. I'd been to her house multiple times. She was also pregnant, and I was super excited for her. Logan always encouraged a relationship between us. Because we could both relate on being pregnant, we talked almost every single day until the end of my pregnancy. Logan and Tori talked every day, multiple times a day. But again, I just saw this as a pink flag. He would go visit her during lunch breaks all the time, but because she was married, I really didn't think it was a big deal. And I trusted Logan, right? So anyways, he ended up bringing her to the room where she held my brand new baby in her arms and met my parents. I was also touching her baby bump and was super excited for her. Well, when it was time for her to leave, Logan walked her out, and they were gone for about an hour. But still, I didn't think anything of it. However, a few months later, I ended up getting a Facebook friend request from Tori's husband. However, I don't really check my Facebook very often, so it took me weeks to realize that he had requested me and sent me a message. And it said, let me know if you want to know how badly your fiance is cheating on you with my wife. Part 3 to my boyfriend cheating on me and getting the other girl pregnant. So after Tori's husband sent me this message, I still couldn't believe it. I thought it was just a joke until I looked at Logan and said, hey, Tori's husband texted me. As soon as I said that, his face dropped and he stopped talking, which solidified my fear, and my husband admitted to everything. I dropped my phone and just cried. Like, how many times had he left to go help her while I stayed at home pregnant? The amount of times he went to go visit her at lunch, and he even admitted that the baby that Tori was pregnant with was his. I ended up finding out that their relationship had been going on for 3 years, which was before she was even married to her husband and before Logan and I got together. And when we broke up, he ended up proposing to Tori with a much nicer ring. But ultimately, when she had the baby, he just abandoned that baby too. And to this day, he has not seen that baby and still refuses to see my son. I even tried to suggest a healthy co-parenting relationship between the 4 of us, and he couldn't even seem to do that. Tori and her husband ended up getting back together, and she's tried to reach out multiple times to apologize, but it just really doesn't make up for what she did.
The other day, my friend and I wanted to send a bouquet of flowers to our other friends, so we ordered them to be delivered yesterday morning, right? Beautiful bouquet of Christmas flowers. Yesterday, I get an email at like 1 o'clock saying that they were delivered. Great. My friend doesn't say anything for 5 hours. I'm like, did she not see them? Like, what's going on? So I had to text her because it was like getting dark out. I'm like, they're going to freeze. So I was like, hey, did you get any fun deliveries today? And she was like, no. I'm like, sick. So I called the customer service line, and they're like, oh, we actually can't confirm deliveries over the phone. Like, what the fuck is this phone number for then? I don't know. So I emailed them. I sent them a DM on Instagram. I was trying to see who was going to be more efficient here. They emailed me back. They go, we refunded you $5. That's amazing. What for? I want to know where the flowers are. I'm so confused at this point. So anyways, I get a message from them on Instagram, and she says, clear your phone lines. I said, what am I, a receptionist from the 70s? I wouldn't even know how to begin clearing my phone lines. They're empty. They're clear. So she calls me. She goes, hi, is this Maddie Mitchell? I said, yes, this is. She goes, this is the supervisor. I'm inclined to trust her immediately, right? So she starts saying that they're going to upgrade the bouquet. It'll be delivered again tomorrow. I'm like, that's awesome. At this point, my friends won't even be at that address tomorrow. So, like, it doesn't even matter, whatever. I get another call today from Victor, and he's like, hi, is this Maddie? I'm like, yes. He's like, hi, I'm Victor, the supervisor. I'm like, wow, there's 2. Okay, what's going on here? I need to know the hierarchy immediately. But Victor tells me that he knows why they weren't delivered yesterday. I'm like, tell me more. He's like, oh, because they never even made the arrangement. what do you mean they didn't make, if they didn't make the arrangement, how could they have delivered the arrangement? Why did I get a delivery confirmation? He has no answers for me, unfortunately. Victor has nothing for me except to tell me that an even more upgraded bouquet will be delivered at that address today. I said, amazing, Victor. That's great news. Even though my friend isn't even there. Her parents will get it. It's fine. So she texts me. My friend texts me. She goes, guys, thank you so much for the plant. The plant? Victor, what have you done? I'm picturing like they sent her like a bush or something. I didn't want that. I wanted the dainty Christmas bouquet that I picked out that was so beautiful. No, they sent her a plant. And from the looks of it, they literally picked it up at a grocery store. Or worse, stole it from a grocery store and just dropped it off. I have so many thoughts. I can't.
So then I have my dad write a letter back to Kaya, and I'm like, wait, like, are you from China? How is it? Like, why are you out here? Like, shoot, if I was in China, I wouldn't be in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, right? So then I have my dad write this letter, and I have it send it back to the crow. Now, I don't know why in my little kid brain it didn't register to me, like, this crow is coming back and forth pretty quick. But, I didn't really pay that any mind. So the crow eventually did come back a little later on that day. And it had another note from Kaya. And Kaya was like, yes, I'm from China. She was like, I'm visiting with my grandpa. And da-da-da-da. And she was like, it's really cool out there, da-da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, we should play together. And I'm thinking, I'm like, how am I about to play with Kaya if she's in China? China's very far from my knowledge, right? So I had my dad write a letter back. And I was like, that would be so much fun. I would love to play with you. But if you're in China, like, I'm in America, we can't play. So you know the drill. I had my dad give it to the bird, and the bird flew back and came back with another note from Kaya. And Kaya was like, what do you mean? She was like, I'm visiting my grandpa in California where we were. And I was like, what? So then I go up to my grandpa, and I was like, what do you know? I was like, how do you know Kaya? She's from China, and how do you know her? She said she's down the street. My grandpa started dying laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing. So my grandpa's like, there's an old Chinese couple that lives on the other side of me that has a granddaughter that comes out and visits sometime around this year. He was like, I just thought it would be funny to just give you guys the old run around. And I'm like, so can I go outside and play? Because now you making everybody in here mad. And it's hot in here. Ain't no AC, granddad. So I get to go outside and I play with Kaya, and we had a really good time. We played for that one time only, and then I actually never got to see her again. So yeah, fun time at Granddad's house. Follow me on the gram if you want to see more story times and crochet and just like want to keep up with me. I'd love to see you there. Peace.
Am I the asshole for banning my husband and father-in-law from the delivery room due to their intensely stressful / creepy behavior during my pregnancy? My husband and I are expecting our first child, which I knew would be a really sensitive issue as his own mother died in childbirth with him. We met with a marriage counselor to talk through things at the beginning, and he swears he's been seeing his own therapist twice a month throughout my pregnancy. I don't want to call him a liar, but I'm fairly sure he's either not going or not talking about the big issue. He and his father, a hugely active part of our lives, are completely convinced that I'm going to die in childbirth. They won't openly admit it, but their behavior has reached the point where it is constantly making me feel stressed and uncomfortable. When it was husband saying, please make sure your life insurance is up to date and I'd like you to meet with the lawyer and draft a will, I was like, that's kind of intense, but okay, if that makes you feel better. When husband asked me to go through all of my possessions and inventory, what I wanted to be saved for the baby versus what I wanted to be returned to my family in the event of my death, I put my foot down and said absolutely not. Too morbid. No way. My father-in-law, who lives a few blocks away and eats dinner with us 2 to 4 nights a week, got on my case about how I was making things difficult for my husband in the event that he will be a grieving widower with a newborn. I'm just going to add here that I've had a completely complication-free pregnancy and have no reason to think I will die screaming in the coming weeks. Am I the asshole for banning my husband and father-in-law from the delivery room due to their intensely stressful / creepy behavior during my pregnancy? When I tell my husband this, he calls me paranoid, but I feel like my father-in-law wants me to die. His whole life identity for the past 35 years has been amazing single dad, never dated or had close friends or even hobbies really, and it seems like he's looking forward to being able to guide my husband through what he went through. At this point, I'd honestly be happy to never see my father-in-law again, and I certainly don't want him in the delivery room, especially since he told me he was putting his foot down about
Me not being allowed to have an epidural or laughing gas. He's a commanding presence, and I know that whatever he wants in the delivery room, he will get. I know people will say, oh, L&D nurses would never let that happen, but you haven't met this man. My husband, in addition to backing his dad on everything, acts like my due date is my death date and has completely pulled away from me. Every minute with him is morbid, stressful, and a reminder that our marriage seems to be crumbling. No matter how many times I tell him his behavior makes me stressed and upset, it's just getting worse, and I do not want it around me while I'm concentrating on giving birth. Do I owe it to my husband to let him stress and upset me during labor? Is his presence at the birth more important than a safe and healthy delivery? My therapist says no, but this whole thing has been so weird. I feel like I need some outside perspective.
Am I wrong for telling my sister's friends that she inherited her house when she says she bought it? My dad passed young. He was only 65 and he passed from a stress-induced heart attack. He was bedridden and passed a week later. He never even got to enjoy his retirement. That was 6 years ago. I was 30 at the time and well into my IT career. He asked me if I needed anything material-wise, and I told him no. Honestly, I just wanted him to live longer, but obviously that didn't happen. My mom felt the same. She didn't want anything material. She also didn't want to be alone, so she moved upstate with her sister, who's also a widow. At the time, my sister was 34, divorced, and a single mom to 2 kids. She was struggling with money, so my dad left her his house. And this was, of course, done with my mom's blessing. He gave me a generous sum of money for my future family, as well as left enough money for my mom to live out the rest of her life. Well, my sister asked me how to invest, and I helped her out. And now she coasts off of the interest. She blogs and identifies herself as a writer. She tells her tween kids about how she worked so hard to save money for the house. And I get that you want to make your children value working hard, but when she says that stuff around me, I just cringe. But I'm not going to embarrass my sister in front of her own kids. Well, my sister asked me to design a website for her. And I mean, of course, she's my sister, so I said yes. Well, on her About Me section, she lists herself as a writer, raised 2 kids on her own, which is true, who is business savvy and bought a big house in a tough market. No mention that our parents spent decades paying it off. I told her, this is mom and dad's house. They spent years paying for it. And she just says, la 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 la, I'm not listening. And I'm thinking, whatever, I have my own family now to worry about. Well, one day, my sister throws a party to celebrate her self-published book about recipes. She invited me, my family, and a lot of her friends. So we're having a good time, not really chatting about anything of substance. When her friends start talking to me about how amazing my sister is, and honestly, no problem there. They tell me how my sister's a genius for balancing 2 kids, work, all while saving up to buy a huge house. And apparently she's been paralleling the fact that our father passed away to say that our mother was a single mom. All I say is, well, I grew up in this house too, and that my parents bought it. And my father willed it to my sister before he passed away. I let them know that our mother lives upstate with her sister. Several of her friends tell me how my sister is so amazing to buy such a big house, all while juggling being a single mom and saving up. And my only response is, I grew up in this house too. The next day, my sister texts me to tell me that I am such an ass for telling her friends that my dad willed the house to her. I asked her how I wasn't being malicious, I was being accurate. She says our dad wouldn't mind what she's doing, and that she's also paying the property tax, which is huge. So technically she's paying for the house, and she should be credited for that. So she wants me to stop saying she inherited the house when people ask. I just told her I would refuse to say anything because I'm not gonna lie. She says I'm being an ass and a hater. So am I? Bye.
Recently, I've really made a conscious effort to be less of a hater-ass bitch. And whenever this happens, inevitably, the universe ends up throwing something at me. And it's like, oh, really? Are you not? Take a look at this. And that happened to me today at the gym. And don't get me wrong, I don't judge anyone at the gym. Do whatever the fuck you want. Good for you. This was just an observation. I noticed that this guy has been walking on the treadmill backwards for 30 minutes. And I thought that is very unique. I've never seen anything like that before. Revolutionary, really. And I started to contemplate, like, what does he know that I don't? Like, are there these hidden benefits of walking backwards? Is he training for a reverse marathon? Who's to say? Not me, I guess. Is he, like, trying to time travel and, like, go back in time? I have no idea, right? And it looks funny because he's in a row of, you know, treadmills and everyone's facing the correct way, as they do, like looking at the TVs or their phone or holding onto the little bars, and he has none of those options. So he's just facing the back of the gym, which is just a wall, and he's just kind of like gazing at people. And I had to walk by him to leave, and as I was walking by him, I noticed he was speeding up on the treadmill, and I thought, okay, like, listen, you've proven your point. You don't need to start backwards running because no one wants to see that, and inevitably you will fall off. And a little bit, that's kind of a little tiny bit you are asking for it in that sense. Like, if you fell off the treadmill while backwards running, is anyone going to help you? I don't know that I'd be rushing to help personally, because you were tempting fate a little bit.
I, female 27, have been married to my wonderful husband, male 30, for 5 years, but we've been together for 7 years total. In all that time, my parents, female 58 and male 60, have never really taken a shining to him, but everyone has always been amicable. That is, everyone except my sister, female 22, who seems to think that the world revolves around her. She is the light of my parents' lives, and can do absolutely no wrong in their eyes. Simply put, my husband and I generally keep our distance from her. Last weekend was my dad's 60th birthday, and everyone was invited. My husband and I went knowing that my sister would be there, but we didn't think too much of it. We expected a pleasant evening celebrating my dad. Now it's important to note, before we go further, that my husband follows certain dietary restrictions as part of his religion, which I'm keeping vague, but everyone in the family knows and has been accommodating thus far. Unfortunately, after everyone had eaten dinner, my sister announced that she had specifically asked the caterers to add in some of the restricted food items so that she could test if my husband would even know the difference. To say the least, I was furious. Just for clarification purposes, the restricted ingredients were added into the sauces and there were no noticeable pieces. My husband and I were absolutely appalled and just walked out while my sister yelled that she didn't get the big deal and we need to take the sticks out of our butts. My parents had absolutely nothing to say and just watched. They later texted me that I should consider the fact that my sister is young and didn't know better. I did not respond. I went absolutely no contact with everyone since the party and didn't respond to a single message or phone call, nor did my husband. When my parents showed up at the house, we didn't open the door. When they showed up at my work, I didn't go to reception. I haven't laid eyes on them at all. Today, some cops came knocking on my door saying that they had received a missing persons report and were looking for me. Fortunately, that was all solved quickly in that I never actually went missing. But now my friends are saying that I wasted police resources when I could have just texted my parents back saying that I didn't want to hear from them. I just feel like a grown woman should not have to justify where she is to her parents. So, am I in the wrong for disappearing and causing my parents to lodge a missing persons report?
Story time, and I need to vent, okay? I hate it when in a professional setting, someone uses their position of power to flirt with you or to get your phone number or whatever. Particularly if they're doing this to people who identify as a woman. So I'm moving out of my apartment, and a guy came over today to do the inventory check. Basically, inventory check is when they come over, they check your flat, and they see if you get your deposit back. Like, they look at the state of your apartment. So the guy comes over to do that, and instantly he starts flirting with me, like right away, right off the bat. So I felt like I was in a really uncomfortable position because on the one hand, I want to be polite and like nice back because I want my deposit back, and I'm scared that if I'm not polite and like friendly towards him, I'm not going to get my deposit because he's going to write a bad review. But on the other hand, he's flirting, so I don't want to like cross the line and make him think I'm also flirting when I'm not flirting. I'm just trying to be nice because I want my money back, sir. Anyway, so one of the first things he says is that he's Eastern European and he's really traditional, And then he spoke to me for 2 hours. He didn't check my apartment, he just spoke to me for 2 hours and like was asking questions about if I want kids, my views on marriage, like literally asking questions that you ask on a date. This isn't a date, this is a professional setting. You're supposed to be checking my apartment. Why are you treating it like a date and putting me in this spot like that? Anyway, after 2 hours, he finally starts checking my apartment and he's checking my kitchen and he asked me if I cooked. And I said, yeah, I cook. And he goes, wow, you would make a great wife. Stop. Why? Many more comments like this came along throughout the inventory check, guys. So later on, there was a tiny stain somewhere, so I was cleaning the stain. And he goes, oh, see, another reason why you'd make a great wife. Oh, because I can clean and cook, I'd make a great wife. And also, like, why are you saying I'd make, like, that's so uncomfortable for me. Like, stop, why? Sorry, I'm still, like, riled up over this, really. And then another thing that happened, he had to flip over all the sofa cushions because he had to see if there were stains on the other side. So when he was putting them back, I decided to help put them back because there's like 9 different like sofa cushions. So I was like, might as well help so it goes quicker. So as I'm putting the pillows back, he's like, you're really sweet, you know, you're so sweet. Again, I'm already uncomfortable, please stop. Finally, everything finishes, and I go to my neighbor's flat because I had to give her something, and he was waiting for the elevator right next to me because her flat is right next to the elevator. And while he's waiting for the elevator, he goes, we should go for coffee sometime. Would you like to go to coffee? What would you say? Let's go to coffee. What am I supposed to say? Like, obviously I want to say no, but I don't want him to write a bad report because I said no, because we all know that could happen. So like, I feel like I have to say yes to go on a date with him when like I don't want to go on a date, but I need my deposit back. So I guess I'm going to coffee.